Since WrestleMania 39, Vince McMahon has had his fingers in WWE's creative plans, despite saying he wouldn't have a role with the on-screen product. Last week's Raw and SmackDown both saw major changes thanks to the chairman, resulting in a lot of issues behind the scenes, and McMahon continues to have an interest in one superstar in particular. When Ringside News asked about McMahon's involvement with creative, it was said that he is very much focused on the plans involving Roman Reigns, and he isn't alone. A team consisting of McMahon, Triple H, Michael Hayes, and Paul Heyman decide Reigns' booking all the way down to his finishers, and do not work at all with creative. The closest that WWE's creative team gets to working with Reigns is that SmackDown's lead writer Ryan Callahan is sometimes consulted, but the decision about Reigns always comes down to Vince. While the idea of McMahon having such control may seem daunting, the results speak for themselves, with the Tribal Chief and the Bloodline being a hit no matter which city they're in. While a meeting was conducted this week between McMahon and creative, it seems like his reign over WWE's plans will continue, but that isn't a bad thing if your name is Roman Reigns. In the 4 years since AEW was founded, the company has signed plenty of ex-WWE stars, but WWE was able to snag one of the most significant names to AEW, that being Cody Rhodes. While Rhodes was the first AEW name to join WWE, he may not be the last, as over the past year it's been reported that names including MJF, Wardlow, Hook, and The Elite are all on WWE's radar. In an update from Zero News, it was explained that Triple H has a strategy to try and sign AEW names when their contracts expire, stating, "I know that Triple H is looking to get a lot of AEW stars over, and he's making a lot of promises to a lot of them for when their contracts expire. Like, if you come in, you'll get title runs within the first year, or if you come in, you'll get X, Y, and Z. The stuff that basically he's trying to completely cripple that roster of Tony Khan by promising them things." Whether anybody takes Triple H up on his offer and jumps ship, that remains to be seen, but with the backstage conflict in AEW thanks to CM Punk, and how well Cody has been treated since his WWE return, we can't help but think some may be keeping a close eye on when their contracts expire. Now, Kofi Kingston's been out of action for months, but recently it looked like the former WWE champion was going to make his return to the ring. For the match card for WWE's recent event in Liverpool, England, Kingston and Xavier Woods were set to team with Matt Riddle to face Imperium, but the match didn't happen. Despite the New Day being on the match card and poster for the show, Kingston did not make his return, and instead Riddle aligned with Alpha Academy to face all three Europeans. It's unclear why the New Day was advertised for the UK tour at all, as tonight's event in Sheffield, England, which had also previously advertised the faction, has now also been changed. The Sheffield show will instead feature Alpha Academy and Riddle facing Imperium, and the fans eager to see Kofi back from injury will just have to keep waiting for his return. It was back in 2020 that Dominic Mysterio made his in-ring debut for WWE and blew everyone's expectations in his first match at that year's SummerSlam. With mere months of training under his belt, Dominic had a fantastic match against Seth Rollins and recently disclosed how that match came to be. On Inside the Ropes, the Judgment Day member recalled how the match came together and responding to WWE's offer to compete at SummerSlam. He said, "When I was offered this opportunity against Seth, I knew that if I turned it down, there wasn't going to be another opportunity like this. My dad told me, he was like, 'This is completely up to you if you want to do it.' He goes, 'I can't make your decision for you.' And I was like, 'Yeah, I'm going to do it.' I was like, 'I don't know if this thing is going to happen again or if I'm going to get the shot.' So I was like, 'I'm going to take it.' And he was like, 'All right, you think you're ready?' I was like, 'We'll see.' Dominic certainly showed that he was ready, and since then has become a regular in the ring, as well as one of the most loathed heels in WWE thanks to his work with the Judgment Day. Had Mysterio felt he wasn't ready for WWE, then his life and the lives of his family would be much different, and we can only wonder what would have become of Dominic in that situation. At Forbidden Door, Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay put on what many consider a Match of the Year candidate, but there is one spot that went too far in the eyes of some fans. In the closing moments, Ospreay dropped Omega on top of his head with the Tiger Driver 91, a lethal move that the inventor Mitsuharu Misawa only used a handful of times due to the dangers. On Twitter, fans have argued that the move is simply too dangerous and should be banned, with one person stating, "That's how people get crippled." Ospreay and Omega are expected to face off again, likely at All In this August in London, and do you think the move should be banned? Let us know in the comments. When it comes to wrestling power couples, few duos are more successful than Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins, the only power couple to consist exclusively of WrestleMania main eventers. The pair have been married since 2021 and welcomed their baby daughter Rue into the world a few years ago, but like every couple, there are some petty squabbles from time to time. Speaking on Today, the couple was asked about their outfits in WWE, and Lynch admitted that she sometimes gets jealous of the unique, amazing attires Seth dons on TV. Lynch and Rollins will both be part of Money in the Bank, and for the man, she'll need to keep her eyes off her husband and on the prize if she wishes to leave London as Miss Money in the Bank. Over to Dynamite now, as Jon Moxley was on this week's show and seemingly paid homage to current WWE executive William Regal. After the Elite defeated the Dark Order on this week's show, the Blackpool Combat Club attacked Hangman Page and the Young Bucks, and on the mic, Moxley challenged the Elite to blood and guts. Not only did Moxley lay out the challenge, but he screamed it down the mic just like how Regal shouted match stipulations, and even said his declaration of blood and guts was done just like someone once said. Regal can't appear on WWE TV for a year as per his agreement with Tony Khan to leave the company, but we imagine that the Blackpool Combat Club alum had a smile on his face when he saw this homage by Moxley on Dynamite. More from Dynamite as Keith Lee made his presence felt on this week's show and returned with a look that fans of his WWE run will have found familiar. In AEW, Lee has let himself go gray and also sported facial hair, but that isn't what fans saw when he teamed with Orange Cassidy and El Hijo del Vikingo. On Dynamite, Lee was sporting black hair and was clean-shaven in a look reminiscent of his time in NXT and his stint on the main roster. Despite a strong debut, Lee's run in AEW hasn't gone as many had hoped, and perhaps this new look will help turn things around for the former NXT and NXT North American champion. During the Forbidden Door post-show media scrum, Sting spoke at length about his career and rejected the notion that his final match will come at All In. Many have predicted that Sting's final match will be against Chris Jericho, one of a handful of legends the Icon hasn't faced one-on-one, and that isn't a bad idea, according to Booker T. On his Hall of Fame podcast, Booker discussed the possible Sting-Jericho match and said that few opponents for the Stinger would be better than Y2J. He said, "Chris Jericho and I had several matches throughout my career, and I'll tell you, there was not a guy that I could trust more than Chris Jericho to go out there and work safely for that match and the fans only. I think Chris would be the perfect guy to do it with Sting if that's his swan song, and go out there and get it done right." Whether that match happens at All In or down the line, it seems that Sting vs. Jericho will happen one day, and who do you want to see the Icon face before he calls it a career? In the days leading up to WrestleMania 39, rumors grew of LA Knight's involvement with the show, with speculation that he'd replace Bray Wyatt as Bobby Lashley's opponent or even face Stone Cold Steve Austin. In the end, neither happened and Knight simply wasn't on the show, but when speaking to BT Sport, the popular superstar vowed to make things right after missing the event. He said, "I kinda let that one just stay where it was because I had to let out all my anger and frustration the night before, because I felt very vindicated by the reaction that LA had given me at the SmackDown the night before. It was big, it was huge, and it kinda made me even more pissed off that I didn't have something going on the next day. So at that point though, I had to be like, well, it is what it is, bye, and just kinda left it in the rearview mirror at that point. So I haven't really sat and thought about it, reflected on it, whatever. Glaring omission, you say? Yeah, maybe a stumble or a fumble, I don't know, but here we are and I'm gonna make up for it." Knight has been a hit with fans on the main roster despite WWE once seeing him as nothing more than a manager, and while he didn't appear at WrestleMania this year, expect plenty of opportunities for him at the Showcase of the Immortals in the future. Outside the ring, Mercedes Moné has been making a name for herself as Koska Reeves in Star Wars The Mandalorian, but her newest project won't be taking the New Japan star to a galaxy far, far away. This week, a trailer dropped for The Collective, which features Mercedes Moné showing off some impressive knife skills, and with an August 4th release date, it won't be long until fans see much more of the former IWGP Women's Champion on the silver screen. And we're ending today with Cody Rhodes, who has been the quintessential babyface since returning to WWE, but Xavier Woods may have an issue cheering the American Nightmare. Speaking to Inside the Ropes this week, Rhodes recalled beating Woods when they wrestled in high school and said that after his win, he began seeing a girl named Lindsay. Well, it turned out that Lindsay and Woods used to date, and Xavier even saw Cody getting it on with his ex-girlfriend, as it wasn't just in wrestling that Rhodes would beat the future New Day star.